Hey everyone, welcome to JOCO Outdoors. My name's Ken, and as you can see, we're in the kitchen today, and I'm going to be making some Tabasco sauce. So let's roll. So we had a good season of growing. Excuse me. All right, so we've had a good season of growing. We had some awesome peppers, and I always grow Tabasco peppers because I love the Tabasco sauce. And I had to grow a bunch this year because last year I ran out before the growing season was. So let's get started. So I was going to show you how to ferment, but you know, it's pretty easy. You just take the peppers, put them in a blender, grind them up and make a mash, weigh them, and you put 5 to 6% of the weight in salt, mix it in, put a cap on it. So let me show you what it looks like. So like this, put a lid on it with a bubbler. That's what we call this. And I use vodka in here because it helps sanitize everything and keep it nice and clean so no air gets into it. And then you just let this sit. So making sauces take lots of patience. So these have been sitting for approximately 4 months now, waiting for the right time to get this going. So let me show you how we process this and get it into the bottles. And if you're interested in any of our sauces, let me know, and I'll get you a link to where you can get one. So let's get started. Okay, there's a couple ways to do this. So when you grind it up in the blender, you still got the seeds and the peels, but you want all that into the ferment because it helps everything blend in, keeps the bacteria, the good bacteria, in the ferment process. All right, so I've got a food mill, and this is what I use. You can use a sieve or whatever. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting some vinegar into it, because that's basically Tabasco sauce, is the fermented peppers and vinegar. That's how the Tabasco company makes theirs. The difference is I don't have an oaken barrel to put it into. I think they get their barrels from, I think, Jack Daniels or one of the whiskey companies like that, and it takes on that flavor. That's why the flavor of Tabasco is quite a bit different than other hot sauces, is because of the way they do it. Now they let theirs sit in there for 2 or 3 years, sometimes 4 years. I don't have that kind of time. So we are going to be processing this. So when you blend it in the blender, you need a good solid blender. I use a Ninja to make a good mash. And then you, like I said, you put it in the jar, weigh that contents, and put 5 to 6% salt into that. Mix it in and put it on the shelf with the bubbler, so it can just do its magic. And then you go back, check it every now and again, because you want to make sure that no mold is growing on it. You may still see some white around there. That's Varicillus bacteria. That is actually what makes the ferment. It's fine. You stir that back into it, but anything green or brown or black, no bueno. I had to throw out a set earlier this year because of that, because it got to that point, and there's no point trying. You can't take it off. I don't even take a chance doing that. I just throw it out and start over. You don't want to take a chance of introducing bacteria or mold that could be, make you sick. So we're going to get this food mill set up and get these things going. So I'm going to use they got a different ones on here. I don't want to use the little tiny one because it takes the mash clogs it up. So I'm going to go with this mid one. Now the problem with this mid one is it's big enough for the seeds to go through. So I'm going to sacrifice that I might get some seeds and may have to double sift this, but we're going to go with that. All right, so let me get this thing set up here, and we'll get this sauce working. There we go. All right, what you're also going to need is a bowl. Now this is kind of big for what we're doing, but you know, this is what I got right now. I got a paint chip in there. So I hate these thing bowls. Don't ever buy bowls that got they're painted. You know, they get all over everything. All right, so what I'm going to do before I even get started with this, I use this solution called Star San. And this is a sanitizer. They use it in restaurants and hospitals, and basically you dilute it with water, and when you spray this down, it kills any kind of thing that could possibly be on this. So I'm going to spray all my equipment before we even get started. So spray the bowl. Make sure this is sanitized. Spray my food mill. Make sure that's all sanitized, because we don't want to introduce anything that's not supposed to be in here into this setup. So you can be assured that this is going to be food safe when you get it. All right, let me set that to the side. All right, let me get this. Let me get my camera turned around, and we'll show you how to work all this. All right, so here's my jars. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna put a little bit of vinegar in here, because all this is right now is just the juices from the Tabasco peppers. That's one thing that's awesome about Tabasco peppers, is they have their own juice. And you'll notice one thing. I'll make one other thing notice about this. Do not fill this up when you're doing these. Do not fill them up too high, because the volume will expand, and you'll have the situation like I've run into before, where you go to check it and the contents have spilled over onto the shelf, and it's a big sticky mess. It's amazing how sticky it is. It's actually, you know, a lot of sugars in this. All right, so first thing, I'm going to take my bubbler out. First thing, I'm going to dump these out, because I need to get these get ready to be washed and ready to go for the next ones. Set that over to the side. Pop this next one out of here. Dump that out. This over to the side. Alright, so and I'm going to be using a white vinegar. So white vinegar is my choice. You can use any kind of vinegar. I wouldn't recommend apple cider vinegar, because I don't know how they taste. But some people put white wine vinegar into their sauces to help with the flavor, because sometimes some people don't like the heavy vinegar flavor. But I don't mind it, because it's part of the traditional Tabasco sauce. All right, so take our lids off. That smells amazing. And you'll notice how much, when you first do this, when you grind it up, that sauce hits you, that smell hits you right in the face. It'll make your eyes water. But after it sits here and ferments for a while, tones down that smell, and now it just smells awesome. Now, I'm not going to put a whole lot in here, but the point is, what I'm doing is I'm putting this in here because we don't do it by a particular volume. You do it by heat. So whatever heat you want. And one thing I forgot to do is put on some gloves. So I'm going to put on some gloves, because... Alright. All gloved up here. Ready to go. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stir this in just a little bit. What I'm trying to do is get this thing broke out from the bottom so that they all pour out. And I'm going to put a little more vinegar in here. Rinse the jar the rest of the way out so we can get everything through here. Smells great. All right, so I'm just going to dump that right into my food mill. What we're trying to do is get the juice out and leave the seeds and the peels and all that up here on the top. Alright, that's about all I'm going to put in there for right now, because it does take a little bit of work. So you just spin this joker around and all the liquid comes out the bottom, and the seeds and the peels stay up here. And you want to do this till you don't see any more liquid up here. Now I will take my spoon here in a minute and smash this down a little bit, but now I'm going to go ahead and put some more of this in here. Finish the rest of this jar. Like I said, I'm going to put a little more vinegar in that jar so I can get all the yummy goodness that's in there. Just pull a little vinegar, swish it around a little bit. Take my spoon. Down some of these sides that's on here. So I don't want to leave nothing behind that can bring the awesome flavor into this. Alright. Dump that into there. Alright. And then we just turn and crank. Crank this up here. Turn it backwards to release those things that are bottling up at the jam here. And you can hear as I begin to turn, you can hear, I don't know if you can hear it pouring into the bowl. Getting all that yummy liquid out. It's almost like wringing the juice right out of these seeds by using this food mill. Now, like I said, you could use a sieve if you wanted to. I've done the sieve before and found that it just don't quite do as good. It clogs up really bad. I'm just going to let this sit for just a few minutes here. Alright, so you can see there's liquid built up right here. Excuse me, whew, pepper coming out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mill and I'm gonna turn it to where the juice is riding up on top of the mill here for some reason. May need to scoop some of these out, some of these seeds out. But basically all that's gonna be left is peels and seeds. There ain't not gonna be any juice or meat left in here. I use this thing all the time. I use this when I make tomato sauce. You know, if you're going to take out the seeds of tomatoes, particularly if you're using cherry tomatoes, because cherry tomatoes got a ton of seeds. So basically the same process. So you can see now this is all just a dried mash. Or just a squeezed out mash. It's just the seeds and the peels. Now, can you do anything with these? Yes. Basically, the seeds are dead, so you don't have to worry about them growing. So you I'm actually put these in my compost and let them continue to break down. Because once you fermented them for the time I did, basically the seeds are not going to be viable to grow anymore. So you don't have to worry about it growing. Go ahead and turn this a couple more times, see if I can get a little bit more liquid out. I think we're about done on this one. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this up and then take the food mill apart. Take this apart, you just push this down, push it over to the side. And it pops up. Then you pop the other side down. Turn it, and now the whole thing comes up. Now what I'm trying to do is not pick up the thing at the bottom. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and dump that out right quick. Let me set this to the side. I have a sieve over here I was going to set it into. There it is right there. Just set it in here so I don't get this all over the stove and my wife beats me to death. Alright, now, like I said, I'm going to take this spoon and I'm just going to go through here one last time and just make sure I've got all this smashed out. And it seems like it's pretty dry. You know, I mean, it's not dry, I mean, it's still got some moisture in it, but all the juice has been mushed out. Alright, let's get a container and put that in. Like I said, this is going to go into the compost. So let me find me a bowl. A bowl big enough to handle this much stuff. Got my bowl. Alright. Scrape all this down. You can see there's no juice coming out of this. This is just seeds and peels. Seeds and peels. Good times, good times, good times. Alright, let me get this scraped out and then I'll put the food mill back together and we'll get the next jar done. Alright, next jar. That smells even better. Alright, grind again. Alright, I think we got all we're going to be able to squeeze out of that guy. There's a little bit more in there, but I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to pop this off here and push it down with a spoon, see if I can get a little bit, squeeze a little bit more out before we dump the seeds out. Now, I don't know if you noticed that this one looks a little more red than the other one did. It's because these peppers were a little bit older as far as ripeness than those other ones were. So I didn't have enough to make a big batch, so you know, as we're saving these in here, we had to wait until they were ready to, you know, had enough to be able to run a batch. But it is all the same kind of pepper, all Tabasco, and the color is going to be, and the taste is going to be amazing. Alright, I think we gleaned all we can get out of that guy. Alright, so now, what I have in here is just straight, I mean, we put a little bit of vinegar in here, but not near the volume. This is pretty much just straight pepper. Straight pepper. You know, not a lot of extra anything in here. I mean, up to this point, it's been a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of, you know, and the salt that was in it. What a beautiful, beautiful sauce. And it's thick. I mean, it's thick right now because this is just the juice of the pepper in here. So we're going to be watering this down with vinegar. And what I'll do is I'm going to add some, taste it, and we're going to get this tempered down to where it tastes about the same as far as heat of Tabasco sauce I don't want it to be too hot because most people won't, when they put Tabasco sauce on, they're expecting a certain heat. I've got some other peppers fermenting that I'll be doing later on that I'll crank up the heat on a little bit more because they're a different kind of sauce. Alright, so basically, I'm going to go ahead and add, and I know this seems like a lot of vinegar, but trust me, it's not. Diluting this down. So what I'm doing is just diluting it down to a point where the vinegar and the pepper gets to a point where it starts to begin to meld and make the perfect flavor. Let's give it a taste and see. Now what I use is a toothpick because I don't want to have a screaming hot tongue. There it is. So I'm just going to use a toothpick to taste the sauce and see how it tastes. That's just about right there. Just about right. I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing this for a while. I pretty much got the volume down to a science to some degree. It's not overly hot because that's not what Tabasco was designed for. It's not supposed to be hot. It's supposed to enhance the flavor of your food. And that's what we're trying to do here, is enhance the flavor of the food. Yep, that is absolutely perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be bottling this up. But before we get started with that, there's one more thing I need to add to this. And I don't know if you've noticed, excuse me, even when you get Tabasco sauce from the store, if you let it sit for a while, the pepper and the vinegar start separating. And that's fine because you just shake it up, mix it back together. But there's an ingredient you can add to this to help that, to prevent that. It's called xanthan gum. And xanthan gum is a little bit tricky because if you put too much, it makes the sauce really thick. So we're just going to put a little bit in there. I mean a very little bit to help keep it from separating. When I mean a little bit, I'm talking about like 1/8 of a teaspoon of it. Called xanthan gum. It doesn't change the flavor. Doesn't do anything about the flavor. It just helps with this. So, like I said, I'm going to do about 1/8 of a teaspoon in here. That's about it. We don't want a lot. I don't want to make this thing super thick. I want it to still be runny. Mix that all in here. And all I'm doing this for is just to help bind the vinegar and the pepper together. Now some guys go beyond this point. They will take this and they will put it on the stove and they will pasteurize it. I don't like to do it because I think it changes the flavor too much. It actually makes it taste quite a bit different than it does right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the pH of this because we want the pH to be somewhere around a 3.4, 3.5, something around there. Turn this guy on. And then put it inside of here. And we are getting 2.8, which is extremely good. Extremely good. That means that this is very acidic, and it's going to make have a good shelf life. So this is now shelf stable. I can put it into a bottle without having to, can it or anything, and it was going to stay exactly like this. So that's one thing. Now, you also want to make sure you rinse this off very good. You don't want your pH meter to sit in this stuff. And it needs to have a little bit of moisture on it also. Now, is that absolutely necessary to have a pH meter? No, because I'm pretty much trust that this thing is going to be the level I want. The peppers are going to create a pH by themselves, and then the vinegar is also an acid that's going to also make that even greater acidity. Can't talk today. All right, so let's get these guys in a bottle and get it rolling. All right, so the bottles we're going to be using, these are called woozy bottles. I'm not sure why, that's just what they call them. You can get them on Amazon. They come in different quantities. I've got a whole bunch of these because we do a lot of sauce. They've already been sanitized. We ran them through a sanitized cycle in the dishwasher, and I've already put Star San in them, so they are ready to rock and roll. Get these all over here so we can just commence rating. And you will need a little funnel that will fit into the neck of that. Now, I bought that little silicone one because it seems to work very well. All right, I'm going to pour this into my measuring cup. And I'm going to use this because it does have a little spout on it. It'd be a lot easier to direct this into the bottles than trying to pour it out of this bowl into this funnel here. All right, so we'll set that to the side. It's not the start of the show no more. Get all our stuff moved out of the way. All right, funnel. And it's a pretty simple process. Now, you can choose how much you want to put in here. I can tell you if you heat this up, you need to put it a lot more volume because as it cools down, it will shrink down and it'll be very low. But I like to fill it up to just about halfway up the neck. That's just my preference. About halfway up the neck there. Another bottle. And I'm not going to have enough for a complete one, so this one is going to go into my refrigerator, and I'm going to use it for my own. Alright, so there's the sauces all poured up. Now let me show you how we put the lid on. I mean, it's pretty simple, but these lids are in two parts. Now, some of the ones you buy from Amazon, this thing is built in, so when you screw it down, it snaps. But this is the little dripper part top that comes with it. It just snaps onto the top. And you got a lid that screws on. Okay, we'll get all those installed. And then I'll put the neck band on it, which keeps this nice and secure so the cap doesn't come off. All right, let me get all these capped up and I'll show you how we do the neck bands. And then mine, which this won't last very long. I mean, this will be gone probably in about a week and a half. I use Tabasco sauce on nearly everything. But that's what it looks like all bottled up. Nice and pretty. Alright, got all their hair styled. No, I'm just joking. Got them all rock and roll, ready to go. Now I just got to slap a label on them. My labels haven't come in yet. They should be coming in next couple of days. I'll get these labeled up and then they'll be ready to go out. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me today as I made my sauce. And if you want to see some more sauces, just put it down in the comments. And if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. We are rolling through, getting up to 1,000. And I want to thank you guys so much because of you that we make this channel super duper. But remember that you can go ring the notification bell right there. And it'll tell you when we put new videos up. If you go down and hit all. But I want to thank you guys so much. I got an email yesterday showing us all the year in with all the how many hours and how many times, how many watches we had and all that. It blew me away. Blew me away of how much, just a little bit of time we've done into this, how much you guys have helped us. So share. That's the best way to do this is share our videos. Share it on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your flavor is. Because the more you share it, the more people we can spread the love around. But I want to tell you what we always say, and I mean it wholeheartedly, that this is God's country. Y'all take care. I'll see you next time.